Hey all, so War is back. Very happy about that. It is my favorite game mode. A lot of roster growth has happened since last season. There was obviously July 4th, but we also just had a longer off season in general. The tactic got stronger, and a lot of us are a little bit out of practice. I'm now recording this after we're most of the way into our third war. This was the first one. There's been a lot of rust at the upper levels. And you definitely see some of it from me here. This is a fight I've taken several times. It's extremely safe with Carl. There are better counters for it, but he is pretty close to that top tier as long as you manage to do your counting properly. And I think I mess it up somewhere in here, but for the most part, just proving this is a very good fight for him. You don't obviously get the advantage of Carl's passive incinerates in refined magma because Void is incinerate immune, but everything else about this just goes swimmingly. Gonna go ahead and wait on this one because I don't have anywhere near enough power to get to another special, and so I'm not going to get to 40 in time. Better to go ahead and just wait for the debuff to come up, so getting to 30 can purify it. So far, so good. I happily go over 40 here because I know that when this lands and then I throw this special, I'm good to go. Now, I do take a little bit extra damage here because if I had just landed one more hit on the way to the special too, I would have been healthier. I probably could have just comboed into it instead of heavy canceling into it, and we would have been fine. In hindsight, I think that's probably what I should have done. The critical energy bursts are our primary source of damage in this fight without the incinerates, but it's still generally better to be healthy. Bit of a miscalculation on my part. Nothing a couple potions can't fix. We move on to Magneto. This is obviously a harder fight than Void because he is tactic. He's going to gain power whenever he has a prowess. He's going to gain a prowess whenever we crit against him. And yeah, that can just be a problem. Now, the good news is that his basics are energy damage, and so we're going to take less block damage against him. He is not stun immune here, so we don't have to do anything about the corner trick. We can just throw special twos. And you'll notice that the tactic is a significant amount of power, and so that is the risk we're taking by heavy canceling into specials and getting those crits. But as long as you bait aggressively after landing some of those crits, keep them far away from 2 bars, the prowess are temporary. They will go away. And so a fight like this isn't that bad. It's very manageable as long as you're not critting constantly. And there we go. So moving on to this next one is a fight that I have not taken yet. This is Adam Warlock, who is still very new when the last season came out. Still hasn't come to the featured crystal. That will be next week, or at the time of recording this, tomorrow. And so I haven't had a ton of practice against him, but I do know that Carl is decent because he doesn't have any buff control. And that means that his kit doesn't rely on buff control. And so the ways in which Adam turns off buff control don't matter to him in the slightest. It's just a matter of having, having class advantage and doing good damage, knowing his specials, and punishing them, like you see here, and then just being aware of the pod, because that is the primary risk here. If we hit into him while he's in the pod, he will stun us. That will be a debuff, and that is a problem. Additionally, he goes into the pod once when you take his health low enough, but that's not going to stun us in the middle of a special attack, and so as long as we just back off, we're okay. And he does go unblockable there, so that was a big mistake by me. I don't know why. I think I just got in the habit of, I just need to land another hit so I can fish for a heavy, right? Except it's Adam. You can't fish for a heavy. Now, luckily, him immediately gaining an unblockable, it goes away right away, gives us power, and so we closed it out with a special, but a little bit spooky. Anyway, we heal up, move on to Doom here. Back to a pretty easy fight. Doom does have block penetration and is generally annoying, but we are immune to shock, so even if he nullifies something off of us, that's fine. And even the block penetration itself Or actually, no, I'm sorry, I take that back. I was about to say block penetration doesn't matter that much to Carl because of his resistances, but we are in Uru, and Dooms, Mediums, and such are energy, so no, we are feeling them, as you can see very clearly there. But that is where having access to regen is extremely healthy. So the fact that we're getting all these easy pauses, from the hazard shift, from Doom trying to shock us when I'm a scrub and get hit and nullified, and from the crumbling armor on the node, all of those are just making things that much easier. Man, I was really scrubbing it up here. Now that one I think is a missed input. But these evades are not me at my best. All of those allowing us to throw specials more safely, get morph charges, and then get regen are keeping this fight pretty darn safe. Additionally, we know that we're not keeping Doom out of his, Aura of Hazareth, but that's fine, because Doom, unlike infamous Iron Man, does not pause his aura during your specials. He does during his, and therefore you can safely throw specials into it as long as there's not that much time left on it, and that helps keep this fight nice and clean. Also, just again, crumbling armor makes this so much easier. So see right here, I do go ahead and throw that, and it was incorrect, right? I should have waited a split second longer, then gone for the combo, and then the aura would have expired before the last hit of the special. So one mistake there is gonna, well, would cost us a potion, but I'm actually done with Carl for this war, so not really a big deal. Moving on to Mole Man here, basically you just want somebody who's tactic here, because you know you're probably going to trigger some debuffs, he's going to purify them, he's going to gain prowess from the purification, he's going to gain power from that, and the purify is also going to trigger power creep, and so there's basically just going to be a lot of power involved. And so we're going to be very careful. We want to start with that parry heavy because we know the first parry is safe. We're going to be an absolute moron and hit into his block and trigger that that unstoppable. Thankfully, it's before he can go into frenzy, and so they're not guaranteed crits, so only a medium moron problem. We throw a special one to get another stack of flare state because we're not really concerned about how quickly we spend charges. We know that him purifying them gives us those charges back, and at this point we are only concerned about getting to the special 2. The tactic power gain is actually working to our advantage because it's causing him to throw specials, which gives us openings, and therefore we don't have to worry about Mole Man being unblockable, we don't have to intercept, and we close it out with a nice big special 2. Rank 2 Sunspot is cracked. I adore him. Excellent investment in my account. Now, we're going to run into a problem on this next fight. This is actually one of the most stressful fights I have ever had in my war career. And that right there is why. For those of you who haven't heard me say it yet, I do work for Kabam. This going vertical problem is one I have brought up internally. It's apparently a difficult one to fix. It's more of an engine issue than our code, but we're trying to fix it because, as I have brought up internally, and as we're seeing here, sometimes when the game goes vertical, you lose the ability to throw specials. And you're going to see here, I try to throw a special several times. That's what those shortened combos are, and then me blocking weird. Yet nothing is working. And that's a problem, because iBomb's damage rotation has a lot to do with special attacks. Plus, there's the problem of that 75% protection, slowing us down and almost guaranteeing a timeout. So, big problem. Especially with willpower. So you see me pause here, I rotate it, try and do some troubleshooting. The clip is going to cut here for a second. I actually minimize it and try and bring it back up, and I'm like, okay, maybe my specials will work now. Of course, that's just me scrubbing it up. I wait for this, and I'm like, alright, special? No, absolutely nothing. Button's not working. Okay, so at this point, you can tell I am very much en route to a timeout. That is unacceptable. So now I have to get an intercept. I try for a parry heavy. Bit risky. I was like, alright, we knew he was placed with Limber, but I had to try. And so I think I try that one more time and I get clocked. But it's worth going for because I-Bomb is incredibly tanky. Has huge physical resist, and that's one of Shocker's main weaknesses. He has some counters to armor ups, but not really to physical resistance outside his special too. So I knew I could take some hits. That's what lets me take a risk like that. And so after that happens, I go, okay, I only have one choice. I have to try the heavy counter. This is normally something I test in duels pretty extensively, but I didn't here because I was expecting to have access to the special button. So yeah, good news is the heavy counter works. I don't know why I'm backing up so much here. Probably just because I don't trust his reaction timing, and I only want to do this when he's below a bar of power. Matter of fact, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I try for the backdraft, and he's a jerk. I hate Shocker's animations so much. There it is again. That one was me misreading it. I don't even blame his animations for that. I was going for an unsafe intercept. But I'm trying to get him below 50 so he's not unblockable. There we go for one, and now I can fish for another heavy. Come on, buddy. Okay, he throws the heavy, we get ready. Now we can do some damage. Now, I don't get lucky anywhere in here as far as poisons, and so I don't come anywhere close to an acid burn. I do get parried again. I'm not gonna beat myself up too much about it. If there was ever a time to panic, I think this fight is a good candidate. But I do just keep going for it, because I know that if I don't do at least something fancy, if I don't punish his specials, if I don't keep going for these heavy counters, I have to keep skilling this out. I have to do something fancy or I will time out. And so that's why you're seeing me take risks here and continuing to do things that have gotten me punished, because I don't have the time to do anything else. I can't back out and duel. I can't restart the game and go for, a fight where I can actually use specials. Any of that could have lost us the war. This was an extremely close one at this point, and we were ahead. So I just kind of have to suffer. I know I've kind of belabored the point at this junction. You can see I have been making progress since I switched tactics. But this is so close. Like, so much of this just comes down to poison RNG. If I got even a single acid burn with the protection down, I think it would have been over in an instant. If I had gotten fewer poisons and there was more willpower, I think I'd be in trouble. But we're able to stay just aggressive enough to avoid a timeout. And I hope I never have to do that again. I brought up the bug internally again. It is getting looked at. I cut the recording here, but I immediately sent an input issue right after this. For those of you who don't know, that's something that the CCP and some internal employees have access to, as far as like sending the raw data, so that stuff can get looked at. Hopefully this gets fixed. And I guess on some level, better it happen to me, especially when I'm able to salvage it, than to a non-employee. I don't know, man. I was literally shaking after that one for a little bit, but I'm really, really glad I didn't lose an attack bonus. Anywho, we did end up losing this war, kind of in tried and true fashion after a long break. I wasn't really surprised. We had two battle groups do really well, and one battle group had a lot of good things, but also just drop a few. It happens. Spoiler alert, win or lose, some of that happens in the next couple as well. We expected this. Like this, we're coming off a very long break, new tactic, new champions. There's rust involved, like I said. I'm not upset with anyone in the Alliance. I feel like we're doing well. Salty is an incredibly formidable opponent. We usually lose to them. Not going to lose any sleep over it. But I am very happy to have War back. This is a kind of stress I missed. Weird as it is to say that. And it's good to be back. So until next time, thanks so much for watching, and take care.